The last few meetings, we've been starting every meeting with an overview of the state climate change strategy. And so this is the slide we're using and updating. Several elements of this we're going to talk about in more depth in this meeting. I asked Carol if she would just overview and hit some of the high points.
Sure, thank you, Janet. 3 items that I want to touch on. At the top, under market signals, we have in green the carbon pricing study, which, as you know, was authorized by the General Assembly. And I wanted to give you an update on that. The study RFP was issued, and 5 bidders bid on the study. The evaluation committee has selected the bid by Cadmus, and the contract negotiations are underway. So EC4 members and all stakeholders will be notified by email of a kickoff stakeholder meeting at which people will be able to meet with Cadmus and both hear what their scope of work is and their work plan is, and also give input, additional input. We've had stakeholder input in the formation of the RFP, but we would appreciate anybody's involvement in those stakeholder meetings. And if you aren't on the EC4 stakeholder list, either let Elizabeth Stone know, or Chris Kearns, who's over there, is responsible for managing the study, so you can let him know if you want to be sure to be on that list. So that is moving toward a study that we look forward to having in probably first quarter of 2020. Second thing I wanted to update is under the electricity sector, the conversion to cleaner energy sources. For the council members, I printed out, sorry, one extra piece of paper. The second quarter 2019 update on the 1,000 megawatt and our progress toward it. As you know, the governor issued the executive order urging that we get to 1,000 megawatts or a 10-fold increase by 2020. And as of second quarter, we have 793 megawatts. I did put one, I'm happy to share this with anybody externally, and it's on our website, so if you want more details, those are available. The important thing for this, I think, is that once we have these in place, these are either contracts that are approved by the PUC or actual interconnected projects, so these aren't planned projects, these aren't ideas, these are actual projects that have one of those 2 barriers having been met. And as of June 30th, 2019, this is enough renewable energy to be the equivalent of a third of Rhode Island's electric load. So as we talk about the urgency that we all feel, and through the course of the day, I think we'll underscore the urgency of that. I just want everybody to know that we are now at commitments that will reach slightly over a third of our load, and we are continuing moving. So we will make 1,000 megawatts, but kind of more important is how much progress we're making toward our own load, and we're very pleased with that progress. Finally, I did want a quick update because in the heating portion of this, the heating sector transformation was announced by Governor Raimondo on July 10th, and that initiative is going to be kicking off this fall. The leadership of that initiative is going to be Nick Ucci at OER and Jonathan Schrag at the Division of Public Utilities and Carrier. But the input and the discussion is going to include lots of stakeholder input on that as well. So I think we can look forward to later this fall, there will be some invitations to join stakeholder conversations about really what we're looking at, and the focus that we have is what do we need to do in the next 10 years on the heating sector in order to prepare ourselves for the emissions reductions, which are challenging. We are flying in the electric sector, and you'll hear more about the transportation sector, but in the heating sector, really this is about what is the next decade going to look like. So we'll have additional reports coming back to EC4, but also for the stakeholders, you will be kept involved. So that's my update. Thank you.
And on the right side of our plan is our resiliency goals, and our resiliency goals, Sean O'Rourke from the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. Sean, you are a regular part of our program.
Yes, thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Director Coy, for carving out a few minutes today on this jam-packed agenda. I look forward to the next EC4 meeting. We'll provide a more in-depth overview of the successes and progress that we've been making on the Resilient Roadie over the last year. But today I really want to highlight the progress that we've been making on our Municipal Resilience Program, which I've talked about at prior EC4 meetings and probably many other meetings that you all have been at before. The Municipal Resilience Program is a partnership between the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank and the Nature Conservancy to build up local leadership at the municipal level to really drive investments in our infrastructure, our natural resources, and our residents for greater climate resilience around the state. We launched this program in February of this year. We have 5 participating communities in this first round. We have Westerly, South Kingstown, Barrington Warren is a combo application, and then Portsmouth, so 5 municipalities participating. We've already completed 3 of our workshops with the Nature Conservancy over the last 3 months. We've completed Westerly, South Kingstown, and Portsmouth. And the next workshop is going to be at the end of this month on the 24th in Barrington and Warren. And so we're really looking forward to that. We are deep in the weeds right now with the Nature Conservancy on developing the summary of findings reports, which come out of the workshops that we build with the town directly to identify what are those plans, policies, and projects to better address the changes and vulnerabilities that they're seeing with regard to climate change locally. And so the first summary of findings report should be out in the next few weeks. That was from South Kingstown, which was our first workshop that we did. And right on the heels of that will be Portsmouth as well as Westerly. The RFP for projects, which the Infrastructure Bank has put up $2 million over the next 2 years for implementation funding for this program. The RFP for those implementation grants will be released in the next month and a half or so. We're working hard on that. We're really looking forward to allocating the funds to eligible projects by the end of this calendar year, right? So super fast. And the eligible projects are projects that come directly out of the Municipal Resilience Program workshops, our implementation focus, meaning shovels in the ground, as well as really trying to solve some of those really localized issues regarding climate resilience. So the whole goal of this is, again, to drive local resilience. We're making progress, really directly working with those municipalities, and excited to be able to update the success in the future meetings. But just wanted to give the update about where we are right now. So thank you.
Thank you, Sean. I'll just add that the regulations for the resiliency funds that were in the last Green Economy Bond should also be completed soon and would be eligible, obviously, for those projects or for any projects across the state on wastewater treatment facility risk mitigation and other resiliency efforts. So that will augment that.
Yeah, we're trying to align the funding streams as much as we possibly can. Thank you.
Sean, I want to just touch base quickly on the proposed position as a resiliency and stormwater fellowship.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jeff. So through some other grant dollars that the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank has received, and through the leadership of the Infrastructure Bank, we're going to be hosting a 14-month Climate Resilience Fellowship to help drive implementation of Resilient Roadie, work on how we operationalize climate resiliency into all the work that we do at the Infrastructure Bank, and just to be a better resource, again, for all of our collaborative work across the state agencies. So that'll be released probably shortly. We're working on the position description right now. I think that'll be a 14-month fully funded full-time position at the Infrastructure Bank. So more news on that soon.
Well, speaking of that, let me ask Molly Henry to just stand up. She is our latest employee on resiliency. She's going to be leading the Urban Forest Initiative that we worked on together with the Infrastructure Bank. So we love having her on board.
If anybody has questions about the program, I'm happy to talk to you afterwards.
Thanks, Molly. Next, in terms of the transfer, both our study and the work that we're about to get presented from SEI and Brown make the point that we have a lot to do in the transportation sector. And one of the things we're working on is a regional effort, and I wanted to ask Terry Gray, the Deputy Director of DEM, just to give us a short update on that.
Thank you, Director, and I will keep it very short. Some of you remember a couple of meetings ago, I came in and gave an overview on TCI, the Transportation Climate Initiative. It's a regional effort to come up with a cap and invest program to try and reduce greenhouse gas emissions from the transportation sector. It's 12 states plus the District of Columbia. We've been meeting very frequently to try and hammer out how a program like that would be structured and put together. I'll tell you just to echo what Janet said, I've learned a lot about the transportation sector through these dialogues and how important it is to get some kind of a strategy, an effective strategy in place to reduce emissions from that sector. That's going to be so critical for us meeting our state goals and meeting regional goals that are out there on greenhouse gas emissions. Next, the big update that, I have two big updates really. The biggest one is going to be, there's going to be a fairly large public announcement from the TCI regional group at the end of this month. And it's going to include 4 big points. The first point is it'll be a release of a little bit more detailed explanation of what the regional framework that we've been working on really is. And it'll talk about the elements of that framework and how they're going to work together to meet the goals that we've set out. It's also going to have an interesting document called, it's being framed a What We Heard document. We've had 3 public workshops across the region, one in Boston, one in Baltimore, and one in New Jersey, Newark, New Jersey. And we've had some very active dialogue, particularly with environmental justice communities, on some of the issues that are really going to have to be dealt with in terms of implementation of this program. And it's not only about greenhouse gas reductions in TCI, but it's expanded out into other air pollution issues that those communities face as well. They're being labeled as complementary policies. So there'll be quite a lot of work done on that in the next few months. Coming out of that also will be a set of equity principles on how whatever program we put together as a region will be put together fairly to benefit all our residents and all our communities. So that's going to be a core foundation of the ultimate framework and the ultimate program. And finally, for the tech savvy, there's a little bit of a discussion, a more detailed discussion about the modeling approach that's being used. There's a lot of high-tech modeling that's going on a very wide basis to look at impacts and benefits from different program scenarios that we've been working through. So that package will all be released at the end of the month. When that comes out, if anybody has any questions, anybody wants to talk about it, I'd be happy to sit down and meet with you. The other thing that is a little bit on overall expectations and what our schedule is. And one of the things that's become clearer as we've started to work on this is it's a very complicated effort, it's a very complex effort. So in terms of 2019, our goal by the end of this calendar year as a region is to finalize this framework for how the program would be structured. When we move into 2020, what we're going to be focusing on is the agreements between the states on how we would participate in the program, and also the mechanics of how the program would be implemented regionally. And then finally in 2021, the states individually will be focused on the systems and authorities that they need in order to participate in that regional program. So it's kind of framed out as a 3-year plan to make this happen, with this year being really focused on setting up the foundation and structure for how the program's going to look. So that's the overall update. There's lots more going on. We're meeting in person monthly, and we have weekly conference calls, so there's quite a bit of action. There's multiple work groups going on. So if you happen to take any questions.
Can you just remind all of us how many states are currently engaged in the conversation?
There are 12 states plus the District of Columbia. So it's all of the New England states, all the Mid-Atlantic states down to Virginia, and then the District of Columbia as well.
It's basically Reggie, but adding Virginia and Pennsylvania. And for those of us working on it, many of us worked on Reggie, and Jonathan was very involved in that. That is kind of the model of taking a look at a bipartisan approach to achieving emissions reductions that can happen more readily at that regional scope. A lot of states at the table, a lot to work through, but we're plugging away and optimistic.
Yeah.
Thanks, Terry.
All right, thank you. Stay tuned. There's lots